If you've been following the news recently, you might be aware of a rather high-profile criminal case that's just reached a verdict, and that got me thinking, can you beat Pokémon LEAF GREEN with a team of Sharpedo? Yeah, now might be quite a good time for me to say if you're a Karen, a snowflake, or otherwise easily offended, you may not want to watch this one because it's gonna be a Breph special. We begin our journey by giving ourselves the witty and inventive name of Breph before naming our rival Plonker after, of course, Plonkerboy 900, and I am legally mandated here to say he has no affiliation with any of the team members you are about to see. Waking up in our mum's house and trying to leave the confines of this small house and town, we are grabbed by a slightly older gentleman who tells us to meet us back in his dressing room in 5 minutes for some candy. We never actually got any of that candy, which was very disappointing. All we got was a man that thrust all of his balls on top of a desk and told us to choose one. Oh, and choose one we did, picking the middle one, which for some reason was a Sharpedo, and bestow upon it a rather, fitting nickname, before doing some fancy wizardry and hacking in the rest of our team members. This is where the fun starts, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce you to our ragtag bunch of Sharpedo. We of course have the OG R. Kelly with the hard E nature. Oh god, it's not going to get any better, is it? No, because next is the adamant Kevin Spacey. Adamant that he didn't do it. The modest Michael Jackson. I really don't need to add any additional commentary to that one. The rash Gary Glitter. Rash like the one you probably would have had if you'd ever come into contact with him. The naughty Bill Cosby. Oh, Jesus Christ. I need to be stopped. And finally, another hardy one. This time, Jimmy Savile. This is a naming scheme video, and of course the scheme is contained within these 6 Pokemon and the name of the actual file I've exported this recording as. With those 7 references in mind, the first person to be able to correctly guess it in the comments section down below gets themselves a shout out in the next video. And I'll give you a hint. All 7 of these references share a similar, not the same, but a similar allegation. And for legal reasons I should point out that a lot of them are just allegations. I'm staying on the fence. This is purely satirical. Please don't demonetize me. Anyway, we begin by sinking our teeth into Plonk. Quite literally, we set up a focus energy, and 2 bites later, and his Bulbasaur is defeated. Heading up to the Poké Center, we collect Oak's parcel, a shady looking thing that appears to contain a leather mask big enough only for a 10 to 15 year old boy. I really don't want to know what kind of gear Professor Oak has been buying. Making our way back to where we come from, I decide of course to take on the optional rival fight with Plonk. And that means selecting one of my Pokemon to do it, because although I've got 6, it'd be a bit stupid to use them all right now. I elected to use Kevin Spacey, sending him in at level 8 and watching him decimate the fight. And by decimate I mean it was slightly closer than I would have liked, but hey, we move. I should say right from the off that when we got to Brock's gym we were between levels 6 and 9 throughout the whole party. Later on in the game, I did bring that level gap down slightly, but that was because I chose to try and stay under or at the level. It's not a firm level cap, but given Sharpedo's stats and that this game is pretty much easy enough to win at the best of times, I thought, hey, why not try and maintain it for an additional challenge? Beating Brock was as simple as switching out when we faint and spamming Bite, because in Gen 3 it's of course a special move, and rock types tend to have higher physical defense. There's really not much to note in between that journey and heading on to Cerulean, apart from in Mount Moon, where there was a single girl with a Clefairy, and essentially put me in a position where, just like in real life, Kevin Spacey couldn't work much anymore. Not due to that infatuation with that young, nice look. I need to stop. It's the wrong gender. Anywho, we make it out the tunnel and into Cerulean, where I immediately decide to test my mettle against the rival again. My team is all level 11 and level 12, so really I shouldn't stand much of a chance if I was using anything other than a Sharpedo. It was a tense fight, there were a couple of feints, but we do in the end defeat him, and that opens up a whole nother section of the game. But before then, I choose to try and take on Misty, because if I can beat Plonk, I can beat her. Just to prove that this is satirical and not based off of any sort of alleged historical accuracy, I lead off the fight against Misty with Kevin Spacey. Her Starmie proved to be much more of an issue than I was anticipating it being, taking us right down to our final 2 Pokemon before Gary Glitter, of all people, swoops in and beat her off. I'm about to go to prison at the end of this one, aren't I? This might just be too far even for me. It's really not going to stop me from making those jokes though, because the next person to meet on our way and our journey is Bill. Now Bill is even more sick than all of our team members put together. He has found himself stuck inside of a Clefairy, and yes, that means exactly what you think it does. We try and help him, and we do that by checking his emails, and in there we find one that catches our eye and clearly caught Bill's. For the low price of only $22.99, Bill managed to acquire himself the latest model of Clefairy Pump. And for the love of God, don't do it, my word, it burns, people, it burns. Oh, well, after we help him remove himself from the faulty device, he rewards us with an SS ticket. And of course, to cash in on that ticket and make use of it, we have to make our way down to Vermillion. Now in there, I popped into the Poke Center and I noticed a questionnaire. And I didn't really know what to put for the answer, so I spoke in extensive detail with my team of 6 Sharpedo, who came up with the following. I'm not going to say the words out loud, but remember, this came purely from the Sharpedo and not from me. Yeah, I've gone too far. Someone really needs to stop me. When we do make our way onto the ship by flashing the man at the gate, we have to fight Plonk again, and I'm going to admit, he doesn't really pose much of a threat right now. I expected better from you, Plonk, and you know I did, so fix it for the next time round. In the meantime, if you'll excuse me, I have to go upstairs and give the captain his special kind of rub, first by undoing the belt loop of his trousers, and then by tucking our hat and wiping it off with a tissue before heading on our way to the gym. This gym puzzle terrifies me because I can never get it right first time. And actually, although I didn't find the switch first time, I found it within like 3 goes and I got the puzzle correct first time. It was brilliant. What wasn't so brilliant was when we had to go and fight Lieutenant Surge and realised that we were screwed because we were outsped by Raichu and that meant we all died in one hit. Luckily, for some reason, Sharpedo tend to level up quite quickly, or at least they have in my experience, and that means that we go back not too long later and we do in fact shred Lieutenant Surge's entire gym. Now, I was worried about that one, and I was equally as concerned when we make our way in to tackle Erica. Before heading into the gym though, our attention is grabbed by a really weird looking old man, who when you click on him to see what his dialogue is, just mentions that this gym's great because it's full of women. Women. I walk in the door and the very first trainer is a lass in a schoolgirl's outfit. Oh my god, I found another Sharpedo and he's looking in at the gym. This game is just, don't blame me for this content, blame Game Freak because they put it into the game way before I came along. Moving on, and Erica didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. Yeah, so I decided instead that I was going to bug out of there and head into the rocket hideout to take on Giovanni. We were still a lower level than his Kangaskhan when we got there, so I was more than happy to undertake this fight. A fight that I won with little to no difficulties, in fact. I'd done a little bit of leveling up in the process. I beat all the grunts, I did a little bit of fighting, and at that point I was like, okay, we're going back and we're not leaving until we've beaten Erica. When I tell you that bite flinch hacks were pivotal towards me winning this fight, that's not an exaggeration in the slightest. They were absolutely vital, and because of them, we were able to beat her team, claiming the 4th badge, and off the top of my head, those 2 3rd and 4th gym badges should have been the hardest in the game, so this should be plain sailing from now on. And actually, when I went up to the Lavender Tower to take on the rival fight, now we have the Sylph Scope, I wasn't mistaken in the slightest. Plonk, you have failed in your one and only task, my friend. You couldn't bring me a challenge, and now because of that, I'm not gonna go easy on you for the rest of the game. Your arse better be prepared for a spanking, boy, because Kevin Spacey, R. Kelly, Gary Glitter, Michael Jackson, Jimmy Savile and Bill Cosby are all coming for you. After that, we make our way up to rescue Mr. Fuji from the hands of Team Rocket before working our way down to Fuchsia. Here lies the 5th gym badge in Koga. Despite his strongest Pokemon having over 10 levels on me, which sounds ridiculous because usually it's the other way around, but despite him having a 10 level advantage on his highest Pokemon and us only having 7 HP left at the end of the fight, we are able to beat Koga on the first time of asking, if you'll believe it. I certainly didn't, and it was quite a shock to me because it opens up a few gateways, a few options for us in this game now. We can either head and try and beat Giovanni in the Sylph Company building and of course the rival again, or we can make our way back to Pallet Town, surf all the way down to Cinnabar, retrieve the secret key, and then head in to tackle Blaine. I'll give you one guess as to what I chose. We do have the type advantage and a strong stab move in Surf, but you got to remember, Sharpedo's strongest stat is his physical attack, not his special. That being said, his special attack is quite high. So despite the fact that Blaine had 15 levels on Kevin Spacey, Kevin knows what that bald head can do, and he loves it so much that he absolutely demolishes Blaine and soaks all over him, gaining us the 7th gym badge 6th, which is the new order. It's how I do things from now on. In fact, I think it would be safe to say I had more trouble with the rival fight next than I did with Blaine, despite the levels, and obviously that's because he has a Venusaur and we have nothing to it, essentially. I'm aware that I could make my life easier by going and buying Ice Beam TM and making life easier that way, but I kind of said to myself at the start of this that to balance out the attack stats and that, I'm only going to be able to use Sharpedo's level up move, and of course, the Surf HM. So that's kind of the route I went down, and I had a lot of fun with it actually, I must admit, not just to mention the recording of this audio and all of the filthy jokes that I've been able to put into it. I've decided to go back to scripting my videos, and as you can probably tell by the off-the-cuff presentation of this one, there's no script. I'm doing this rather quickly because obviously the announcement of the verdict came out, and I said, that's an opportunity that I'm not going to miss. Another opportunity that I wasn't going to miss was taking on the Psychic-type gym in Sabrina. She may have Bug-type moves in her repertoire, one of them at least, but I have a Dark-type Pokemon and a Dark-type move, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this was a piece of cake. With 7 of the 8 gym badges done, and us rejecting Bill earlier, that means that we have to go and take on Giovanni again, but this time in his more professional capacity as gym leader. He has ground types, I have water types, and although he may have 16 levels on us, it's not enough. We beat him with a lot of ease, and that is actually where the ease ends. The end game section here is just brutal, and it starts, of course, with our final fight as rivals with Plonk. I got my arse handed to me time and time again with this one, actually. I had been going through the game on or under leveled. I didn't see any reason why that should change, but turned out that 20 levels was just a little bit too much to overcome. I definitely underestimated his power. In fact, when I leveled up the team into the level 40 zone, I still got my arse handed to me and had to go back and do some more. I ultimately had no choice but to go up to level 48 and match his Pokemon nearly head for head. And while my dog snores ferociously in the background, we enter the final section of the game, heading in to take on the Elite Four and champion and beginning the fight with Lorelei. She wasn't actually too difficult. Her hardest Pokemon was of course Lapras, given that it's bulky and it actually hits hard, not to mention being over our level, which is always fun. It took me a few attempts, but really her early Pokemon can't hurt that much, and her Jinx really just tries to set up sleep and the like, and it didn't really matter too much. Bruno, however, was where the fun stopped. The fun may have stopped, but like gambling with your freedom by messing around with people that don't want it, the Sharpedo did not. It took me a few goes before I got used to the pattern and what I needed to do, and I got really lucky actually on one attempt after many losses, let me tell you. And we were able to beat Bruno, and that's really all I want to say because I'm just getting PTSD from thinking about it, and I'm not about that. The third member of the Elite Four is Agatha, and she is, well, she has ghost types, she has poison types, it's really not that tough. I think her hardest Pokemon to contend with was Arbok, but then it usually is, unless you have an Earthquake user. Anyway, I digress. Lance is where I really thought I was going to struggle. But alas, we didn't. I actually beat him first time, and I was shocked. It was another shocking moment, because I would have sworn that we would have lost this fight. Crunch was my best friend for this fight, and actually though, it was Swagger that came to the rescue, because that Dragonite hit hard, and it's the double-edged sword with Swagger. You boost its attack by 2 stages in the hope that it hits itself in confusion, which is exactly what Dragonite did. And I got a bit cocky, I used it on Aerodactyl as well, when really one Surf would have taken it out, but it didn't matter, because we did. And all 4 Elite Four members have been defeated. And that only left one person who took me multiple attempts. The champion, #PlonkerSimp900, I mean it, let's get that trending on Twitter. He has Pokemon in the early 60s. I have Pokemon in the late 40s. By rights, I had no means to win this fight, but I did, and this is how I did it. I wailed away and sacrificed a team member in draining a full restore on his Pidgeot. Then his Venusaur came out and I was not in a very good mind space. Crunch, a few feints, and a very poorly timed Solar Beam meant that we managed to get past him. Alakazam came out and drained full restores, but otherwise went down to Crunch as you would expect. Rhydon naturally went down to a single Surf. Gyarados hit really hard with Thrash and fortunately hurt itself in confusion at the right point so that it didn't sweep aside the rest of my team members, and that meant that there was only one Pokemon left in Arcanine. Him knowing extreme speed was quite scary because obviously it hits first, but Surf hits harder and he drained the full restore. That meant that we were able to beat the champion and have all 6 of my Sharpedo, Kevin Spacey, Gary Glitter, Jimmy Savile, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, and Michael Jackson placed into the Hall of Fat. Nah, I'm joking, it's prison, you alleged filthy perverts. Alleged being the key. And I beat Pokemon Leaf Green with only a team of Sharpedo. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you all so much for putting up with the jokes. Stay safe out there. I hope you enjoyed. Huge thank you to the channel members. And, well, I'm now off to A, prison, or B, be sued. Who cares anyway? Thank you all so much for watching again. And I look forward to seeing all of you, and hopefully some more, in the next one.